their designs, but to learn what they're doing well, what they're not doing so well, and what your edge could be over that. And then really trying to figure out your target customers. It doesn't matter what you're selling, you have to understand your customers. So you'll notice that we're all getting surveys left, right and centre, because people want to understand their target customers. And sometimes it can be hard to get a reaction. But I think now people have got more time in their hands. So if you do want to send out a survey to, do that within a group you're in, or a forum, or to your network, I think you've got a more chance that your customers will respond. And so you really want to understand, some demographic information, what brands they buy, their likes and dislikes, what social media platforms they use, what influencers do they follow, because this will all help you target and make sure your products fit that group of people, but also it'll inform your marketing strategy. And really always go back to what the customer wants. Think about what your customer wants and what they will want when we come out of this, and maybe try and plug that gap. It's also a really good time to upskill yourself. So if you wanted to develop some computer-aided design CAD skills, or maybe learn more about digital marketing or how to manage social media, there are so many online courses for it, webinars or downloadable series of videos. Same thing if you wanted to be able to do your accounts, there's lots of accounting programs, and there's everything actually. So this is a really perfect time to do what you've always wanted to do but never had time to do, and upskill yourself. Now, of course, there are going to be casualties. Not everyone's going to survive. But that does mean there's less competition, so it might give you more of an edge or an opportunity to edge forward. But if you are going to start a business, and it doesn't matter any time, whether it was before, whether it's in the future, whether it's now, I always say failing to plan is planning to fail. You need to have a strategy behind it. It's a very complex sector with lots of moving parts. So you need to be very clear what you're trying to do and how you're going to do it. And you do that by creating a business plan. Now, a business plan is just something that really describes what your business is, and it's backed by some of the financial data. It doesn't have to be War and Peace. It doesn't have to be too in-depth, actually. You just want clear information in it. And it's going to really capture what the vision is for this business and what your sort of short-term, medium and long-term goals and objectives might be. It will set out what your business model is, and how you're going to build the business and maybe handle the competition and have that edge over the competition. Obviously, it's going to include a lot about your marketing and sales strategy. That's almost a separate piece of work in itself that kind of slots onto the end of a business plan. And then you want to understand what are those startup costs, what your ongoing business costs are going to be, and then obviously what money or finance you're going to need to get going with. Now, if you're going to be looking to borrow money or get an investor, you're certainly going to need a detailed business plan to show that this is a good investment for them. But actually, even if you're not, it's for you, it's your personal roadmap, and it's something you can measure yourself against, make sure decisions you make are in line with those sort of visions and key values of the business, and sort of track progress with. So it could be just for yourself. You don't just have to do it for someone else. But it doesn't need to be too long either, because nobody has the time to read a 90-page long business plan. What you must do, though, to kind of get noticed in that crowded marketplace, you have to have a strong brand. And you may well need to budget and invest in visual branding and digital marketing to get that message out there, because actually they're very important, and it may be beyond your skill set. It may be your skill set, but for a lot of us, it's not. And going back again, remember, it's not just selling clothes, you're selling the story. That is how you build your emotional connection. So you need that very clear, memorable, unique selling point. Consistency, you can't chop and change. If you're going to have a clear message and this is what you do, this is what you put on all your public touch points, and you need to develop a personality behind the brand. So just a few examples of that. The Fold is an e-commerce global brand, and basically what is their USP? It's to dress and inspire the world's most successful and stylish professional women. And this is what they do. They do what they say on the tin, and they've done it very, very well. and the message is clear. Everlane is a US predominantly e-commerce brand, and their strapline is modern basics, radical transparency. So sustainability was always at the heart of this brand, and has come through on everything that they do and all their messaging. You can actually go on and see who's made what, the environmental impact. It's all very transparent. In fact, they were one of the first people to do that, but now lots of brands are doing this. The actual clothing themselves, to be fair, is not groundbreaking. Modern basics, I almost say it's like a bit of an upmarket Gap really, but they do what they do well. They know their customer and they've embraced sustainability, and it has served them very, very well. Tom's, the footwear brand, shoes that are quirky, comfy, light and inexpensive. For every pair you purchase, a new pair of shoes is given to a child in need. So that social impact was a key value of that brand since it launched. And that messaging, they brought it into the USP so that everyone knows about it. And that makes you feel good. And that's what you want people to feel, is good. What I will say is you can't please all the people all the time, and you shouldn't try. It's better with a new brand to start with a tight focus. And then once you've done that well and kind of built your brand, then you can always expand and you appeal to a particular niche. You've got to start somewhere. And some really successful brands like Mansell Gavriel, Shrimps and Allbirds that I mentioned before, they all started with just a core product. With Mansell Gavriel, it was the bag. With Shrimps, it was fake fur jackets with like this distinctive stripe that ran across it, and Allbirds with the sustainable sneakers. And also, if you just keep your product range limited, it's going to be much easier to produce as well. Because one of the difficult things, if you're producing product over multiple categories and dealing with lots of different suppliers, it's very complex. So if you keep it tight, you'll find that much easier. And they say once you have got some traction, you can then build on the reputation, expand the products, and then have some sales history and customer feedback to base decisions on. So as I said, Mansell Gavriel, they launched with one bucket bag. This were two female founders just out of design school. They actually always wanted to do a full ready-to-wear collection, but they just didn't have the finance. So they just used this one shape, which they offered in lots and lots of colours and had very strong branding. And then they built lots of PR on that. It got really good pickup from the fashion media, because they also had it at a kind of a sweet price point, just under £500. And then once they'd established that, then they got investment, then they expanded. Same with Rothy's, just with some loafers, very few styles and a few reiterations, but a really massive brand now, but started very, very basically. You obviously have to get your product made, and actually from a lot of businesses that we work with, the sourcing and production is actually the hardest part. If you can crack that, you can crack anything. You have to consider where you're going to get your raw materials from, who's going to make the product, are you going to work locally or overseas, what are your direct costs going to be, because that's the bottom line. Is it doesn't matter where you are in the chain, whether it's value or premium or luxury, your customer is going to have an expectation of what they expect to pay, which is probably going to be what they would pay to your competitors. And you've got to figure out early on in the journey, can you sell the product at a price point that your customers are prepared to pay, but that also makes a profit for you? And that is the kind of the giant conundrum, and you have to get all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle fitting together and think you can do that before you start investing large sums in it. So you've got to nail the sourcing production. You've got to think about, what is your sales strategy? Are you business to business? Are you business to consumer? Or are you both? And if so, how will your customer find out about you? You know, lots of options there. And at the heart of it is building this community. Even if you haven't started your brand yet, even now, this is a good time to be doing that, to raise the profile of yourself and your brand. And like with the established brands we mentioned, this will be by producing content that's of interest to your target customer. Now that could be a blog, it could be a vlog, posting regularly on Instagram stories or Instagram TV, or you might be really engaging in forums and groups. And it may well be that you're not going to be launching for quite a while, so you start off in your own name And then when you build up a following, you then invite your followers to like and engage in the brand, providing you just think about the content you're putting out there would be of interest to that target customer that you're hoping to reach at some point. And if you can build a following before you launch, then once you do launch, you've got a ready-made audience and you're likely to generate sales much, much quicker. We worked with an evening wear brand that was all about sort of going out party wear, and they spent a year before they launched, they got all their friends involved in sort of creating this whole community, set up particular hashtags, and they were all going out all the time and then posting from where they were going, reviewing the venues they were going to, sharing their favorite venues, their favorite music, favorite restaurants, all about going out basically. And then by the time they did launch, they already had 20,000 Instagram followers. So sales rolled in quite quickly. Going to have to invest in imagery as well as that branding, because particularly if you're an online business, your imagery is all you've got. Your photos are what you're selling from, and they need to reflect the personality of the brand and the positioning, and they need to inspire your target customers that they want to buy. And you've got to remember, you've only got such a short time to grab attention, probably about 3 seconds. So that imagery has got to draw them in and hook their interest very, very quickly. And you're going to need different types of imagery. Lifestyle imagery, which kind of sets that brand personality and tone of the brand, but also you need kind of cutout imagery, which is more for the product pages on your website. But also, if you are trying to get coverage in the media, they will often ask you for cutouts so they can just drop them into something, because they usually have quite tight budgets now and they often aren't engaging in big editorial shoots themselves. So make sure you have all the imagery you need. But this is the one area you shouldn't cut back on. And finally, don't forget those financials, because knowledge is strength. So you need to keep control of those finances to make sure you don't run into trouble. Work out what it is going to cost to start up, figure what a realistic cash flow forecast it will be, how much you might sell, and then profit and loss. Is the whole thing going to be profitable anyway? And this, as I said, is to help make sure that you have got enough money in place, so it will help you reach your goals and for any future projects that you plan to do. And what we want to avoid is you waking up one morning and the bank account's empty. So just a few people that we've worked with that are doing really well, even now. Jewellery brand Alghieri is, we're very proud of. Founded by Rosh Matani. It's an ethical jewellery brand that has always been very keen on supporting local manufacturers and suppliers. And I think you should all look at her because this brand story is so strong. The original collection she launched was based on a poem by Dante, and everything she does is based on that, and so everything she does has a story attached to it. So even during this downtime, she's still regularly communicating every week with a new story for her followers. She sells in all the international round stockists, people like Matches Fashion, Galeries Lafayette, and Essence, and also on her own website a lot. And this year she's won the prestigious Queen Elizabeth II Award, which is only in its 3rd year, but you know, that is amongst such stiff competition. So she won that earlier in the year and was shortlisted for the Vogue British Fashion Council Fashion Fund. So she's been doing really well, and she's a very good example of that brand storytelling. Another amazing brand, Solis London, women's wear brand, very distinctive, designed with like kind of strong fit and architectural lines, founded by a design duo, Laura and Ryan, a few years ago. And they never really followed the trends or what the rest of the high street were doing. They had a very strong look, which they stuck to. Very much statement pieces, but they were not only statement pieces, they were wearable. So that's the thing. You've got to have things that people can wear. They launched in a very different way though, because they needed to get cash into the business. So they launched with the ASOS platform by doing an exclusive collection with them. And then once they had done that for a few seasons, they gradually moved to a more premium position, which is what they always had planned to do. So they now sell in all the international retailers, and they sell through their own platform as well. But they actually got the wholesale sorted out first before investing in their own platform. menswear brand Kick Blake, a men's tailoring brand, just launched last year by Chris and Richard Wheat. They launched with a pop-up in central London, but then they got noticed by this very famous male model called David Gandy, and he wore their trousers. So once he wore those and posted on Instagram, then that just elevated the whole thing. And a good business-to-business model. Sleep Siren is a multi-brand platform for anything to do with sleep. We talked about that earlier. And it's a created platform of all things, whether it's clothing or accessories or candles that help you sleep. And it's a curated selection from Lily Buell, who founded it. She started by developing premium partnerships with brands like cashmere brand Chinty and Parker, luxury pajama brand Olivia Von Hal, and just being a one-stop shop for everything in that space. And the plan for her is, once she's learned about that from her customers, she will then develop her own product line. And this is what a lot of retailers do. They learn from their customers when they're buying other brands. So once they've got that kind of insight into their customers, they then produce their own brand. And she's been very active with PR, so she's been featured in numerous gift guides. And then we've got Cara in the Sky, ethical knitwear brand. She was a knitwear buyer. She was made redundant, which kind of forced her into actually setting up her own business. She'd always wanted to do it, but this sort of pushed her, really, being made redundant. But she thought there was a gap between the sort of cheap and nasty knitwear and the sort of very expensive high-end knitwear, and she wanted it to be somewhere in the middle. And she, again, has multiple sales channels, both online, through independent retailers, and again, very active with reaching out to bloggers and influencers. So she's kind of garnered a lot of press, which has helped elevate the sales. And finally, London Sock Company. That's a different business model altogether. That's a subscription model. That's how they started. So you pay a monthly amount to get a box of socks. Very strong branding, very strong imagery, and a strong story behind it. Now they do sell wholesale and regular retail, but they started behind a very clear message and a business model. And then they sort of expanded from that. So just some quick tips to wrap up. You need that business plan. If you're going to start up, you need to have a business plan and strategy in place, and do that market research, really get to understand where you exist in the bigger scheme of things, look at your competitors, really look into your target customers and what they want. Make sure you've got that strong selling point in place and a brand story to underpin it. Try, if you can, identify a key niche, or give a solution to a problem, and introduce maybe innovation, because then you've got something different to offer. And start small. Try and test the market in a small way, validate your assumptions, and then invest heavier and expand. Don't ignore those financials, because they won't go away. And if you are looking to raise finance, I'll say just leave yourself plenty of time, because even if you have an investor that says, right now, I'm going to invest in you, the due diligence takes ages normally. So just allow time for that. So that's it from me. And now I'm really happy to take any questions.
Hi, Alison, Sally here. Thank you very much.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it was okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you so much. Right, so I think we're good.
Yeah, great. Well, hopefully you won't have too much editing.
No, I think you'll be fine. I believe, what did we go for? Like probably 45 minutes, this one was.
Yeah, I think that was just 43, 44 minutes, something like that.
Okay, yeah, that should work well for us. And then we'll be able to take a couple of questions. So fabulous. Thank you so much, Alison.
No worries.
And I'll be in touch. I'll sort of finalize things out and the final.
Yeah, when you've got the dates and everything.
Yes. Then I'll get in touch.
I mean, there might, just let me know, because I've got lots of different things going on, so I need to do a bit of juggling.
No. I'll let you know as soon as it's sort of firmed up. I'll let you know. All right.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
Great. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.